Hi, everyone. Earlier this month, I reached a major milestone with my Ford Maverick, and I'd like to share it with you along with two dislikes and four likes now that I've driven it for more than 10,000 miles. All right, let me go ahead and share my screen with you so you can take a look at what I'm referring to. I'm very glad that I chose the Ford Maverick. It certainly suits very well. But as you can see, sure enough, 10,000.0 miles. Got to include that dot zero. Makes it extra fun, right? Anyway, so about the two dislikes. So, number one, I would say that overall, especially the engine and the sounds, the noise, vibration, and harshness is unrefined. Now, I'm not talking about the exhaust. The exhaust is very well refined. In fact, it's so smooth and quiet, at least around idle, that I had one or more people think that I had a hybrid because of that exhaust. So I'm thinking of one in particular. So that's pretty cool. Now, I have the EcoBoost, so definitely do not have that hybrid, but it just sounds so nice and smooth. And of course, you can check out my other videos. In fact, I recommend checking out my video that is titled, oh, that, hey, what's that sound? Like that song. Anyway, you'll see what I mean. Check it out. But with that, besides the lack of refinement, the other thing that I would say is a drawback is the transmission. So the transmission in normal mode tends to stay very low in the RPM range. So I would say quite often around about 12 or 1400 up to about 1600 or a little bit beyond that. Whereas to be really smooth without that lugging vibration type of a sound, especially if you're starting to accelerate or go uphill a little bit, it really needs to be more like 1600 to 1900 or more. So you can get it to stay up in a higher RPM by going into sport mode, but then that also changes the throttle response and you end up using more fuel, not only because of the higher RPM, but also because of the extra sensitive throttle response and so forth. It's harder to be as smooth with it. It's really nice because the sportiness is cool. But in any case, I think the normal mode should be reserved more for the eco mode when it comes to what gear the transmission is in. In any case, that sort of lugging, unrefined transmission, low RPM engine sort of situation, you can sort of lump that all together, or you can separate them and say, okay, the transmission and then the lack of refinement, certain sounds, the buzzy engine, those two things all together, I would say are the most noticeable drawbacks, in my opinion. Now, for the four likes, notice twice as many likes as dislikes. The four likes, well, one is the size of the vehicle. It's just a really nice size. It's easy to park, it's relatively easy to get in and out of traffic. I feel like the sight lines are good, the visibility, all of that due in part to the size of the pickup. So size is perfect for what I personally need. The next thing is the price. The price was also perfect for what I was looking for. For what I'm getting out of it, I would say the price was perfect. The next thing is the practicality. So that includes towing capability with that 4K tow package, the ground clearance of 8.6 inches, which is great if you're going over rough surfaces or in snow or whatever. And then so many useful storage areas that are well thought out, very practical that way. And then the last one is the power. So that 250 horsepower seems to be just perfect for this particular vehicle. I feel like it's quite sporty, even in normal mode. When you give it the gas, it is ready to take off and go, even uphill. So that's really cool. Plus, of course, it has the low gear mode for towing or going up and down hills. And then it's also got the sport mode that I mentioned earlier, and that really adds sportiness. And of course, you can see more about that in my previous videos. Check out my Maverick playlist. In any case, I would just want to quickly rehash what I just went over. So the two dislikes are going to be the lack of refinement, the sort of buzzing sound from the engine, lack of sound deadening, and then the transmission trying to stay in too low of a too low of an RPM, so too high of a gear while driving in normal mode at certain speeds. It's not every speed, but at certain speeds, like around 20 to 30 miles per hour, it tends to stay way low in the RPM because the gear is up one or two higher than I really think it should be. Okay, so those are the two dislikes, and the four likes are the size, the power, the practicality, and what was the other one? Size, price, power, and practicality. Don't forget the price. All right. Well, as you can tell, there's a lot of things that I do like and some things that I don't with my Maverick. I'm glad to have driven 10,000 miles. Thank you all for joining me for this live stream. And maybe my next one will be even more refined. Speaking of refinement. All right. You all have a good day. Thanks for watching Cars. Bye bye for now.